The first time I saw Citizen Kane was on Channel 9 in New York. I think I was 15 years old. Citizen Kane was on television. It had been shown on $1 Million Movie, which was a movie they would show, a series on Channel 9 in New York. They would show it, a feature film, one a week, the same film, twice a night, and 3 times on the weekend, or 4 times on the weekend. When I first saw it on Channel 9, it was edited. But I didn't know. It didn't matter. It didn't matter because it was so arresting. It was so shocking. And it was at the age when I was beginning to associate certain names with films that I liked. What Citizen Kane really did for me was to show what that name on the film did. In other words, Welles was the one, through Citizen Kane, to make me understand what a director did in a film, where he placed the camera. I really, of course, fell in love with that wide-angle lens, too, in movement, constantly in movement. That was fascinating to me. When I really discovered what a director does, and that is, I saw Citizen Kane on television for the first time. And I began to become aware of editing and camera positions. And what I guess happened there, of course, is that what he did, Welles, was literally, he was not afraid of being self-conscious with the camera and making self-referential remarks with the camera and literally letting the audience understand, yes, the camera is looking through the floor up into the ceiling. You know, Welles did this. And he did it with such conviction and with such brilliance that you began to realize, I see the camera moves. And I began noticing camera movement because he used that wide-angle lens a great deal. And if you use a wider-angle lens and you move quick enough, you see the walls speeding past you, you know. And this is what I think Welles brought to cinema, to American cinema particularly, because up to that time, it was the seamless film, in a way. The hidden camera, the camera that you couldn't tell was there. So Welles was the one to really open up the Pandora's box of cameras flying up in the air. In a funny way, I guess, picking up where silent films left off. The other thing, of course, I noticed with long takes, he did it, well, of course, he shares the title card with Greg Tolan, director of photography and directed by, are on the same card. He did it using deep focal length lenses where everything seemed to be in focus from the foreground all the way back to the background. And I found that to be fascinating, too, and constantly trying to compose, I find, in my own mind, trying to compose shots like that. And of course, without those lenses, without that lighting, it's very difficult. The energy of the film editing, the performances, all of this had a certain mark and a stamp that was unmistakable. I was amazed by the shift in camera angles, by the use of the, now I know it's deep focal length lens. I didn't understand at the time. It was everything in focus. By Welles's, by his acting and by the use of the soundtrack with overlapping dialogue with Joseph Cotten and him. And I just loved the picture. I just fell madly in love with it. And I found every aspect of it to be revolutionary. Maybe because Kane is full of so many technical tricks. Maybe because of that, I became aware at the age of 14 or 15 of a vision behind the camera. And then I finally got to see it in the theater, at the Thalia Theater in New York, seeing for the first time the scenes that I hadn't seen on television, particularly the March of Time sequence. And when it came up was quite shocking, and how the March of Time sequence developed in the film. And I hadn't seen that before ever. And it was really, really extraordinary. It affected my early films. I made a film called It's Not Just You, Murray at New York University. All the techniques used in It's Not Just You, Murray kind of found their way again in Goodfellas, which all comes from the spirit of the March of Time sequence, the sense of just breaking the rules and stopping the movie and throwing a documentary in the middle and giving you all that exposition and couching it in terms of the excuse of it being a documentary that you see in the newsreel and in a movie theater. I really enjoyed the montage of the film a great deal. For example, in that opera scene, begins with her leg going across the frame, I think, and the camera is on the stage looking out to the audience, the light bulb dying out, and the opera singer's voice fading away, and it's really a suicide attempt. And I think that's so wonderful. Our time is compressed in that. I also like the scene in Mr. Bernstein's office when he talks about seeing the young girl in a boat once in his life, and there hasn't a day gone by that I haven't thought about that young girl. And I also like the line of dialogue in which Bernstein says, listen, there's no trick to making a lot of money if all you want to do is make a lot of money. It makes a lot of sense. Kane is a very important picture for the sound era. Welles was the one to formulate the level to which films should aspire to, I think, or the freedom, the sense of freedom. I look at the Citizen Kane, I kind of think of Rosebud as a mystery thread, and somehow it's resolved, and it's resolved beautifully in the flames at the end. Looking back, I've seen the film now over the past 20 years, 25 years over and over again, 30 years maybe. Yeah, 30 years over and over again. I guess the beauty of the Rosebud idea that stays with you is the lost innocence, the melancholy, the inspiration that you had in you when you were young, and how it changes and how it survives or doesn't survive in your own estimation, and that initial spark that you want to hold on to the end of your life, and how it eludes some people and how it seemed to elude him. Kane was a picture that made you think that anything was possible on film, and that's important. That's important, especially because film production is so hard, it's so difficult, that it's very easy to be snowed under and to be in yourself too. You get to a point where you're shooting something for so long, and somebody says, "I'd like to try something," and say, "No, that's really hard to do. You can't do that," and you accept it. You know, at least in that, when you see Kane, luckily I was young enough to see Kane, you never accept any of that. You just try for it, and I think that's what the sense of ambition in the film was very strong. The ambitious sense of the picture, of wanting to be everything that film could be, stretching the limits of film, and I think that's what's always inspiring about the film. Wells was a beacon in a way, and was someone you could keep looking towards, someone whose work constantly surprised you and enriched you. It was like a teacher. I believe he's been quoted as saying that when he went to work on the film, he told the people working around him to do things they were told they could never do. And another famous thing I think he said, and that's something I always remember very, very clearly, and when I'm in the same situation, I value it. He said, "The thing I bring to this picture is ignorance, because I never directed before in film. So I don't know what can and cannot be done. It means, I don't have to feel constrained by any rules." The odd thing about the picture, and I've seen it countless times, the enigma of it is Kane itself, Kane himself. You don't know him. You can't get to know him. He's afraid of knowing himself. He's afraid of letting anything out that might be indicative of his feelings, his emotions. And he's not passive, though. He's not passive, but he's got this wall up that, how many times I've seen the picture, I cannot get, I can't really feel for him as much as I did in the beginning. But in the beginning, when I first saw the film many times, I was feeling more for Orson Welles himself, acting in the film. I liked him personally.
Did you ever see women's pussy? What do you think of that? Pussy. I said, fuck for that. I said, pussy. Did you ever see women's pussy? What do you think of that? Pussy. I said, fuck for that. I said, pussy. Did you ever see women's pussy? What do you think of that? Pussy. I said, fuck for that. Pussy. Did you ever see women's pussy? What do you think of that? Pussy.